everyone, welcome to the AnexiPod, the official podcast for Anexinet. This is episode 14 for April 7, 2017. In for Ned Bellavance, I'm your host, Carolyn Carganella, consultant for managed services and network administrator at Anexinet. Here on the AnexiPod, we talk technology for the enterprise, covering infrastructure, app dev, analytics, and anything else that is shiny. On this episode, the ladies take over, and we will have our first installment of Women in Technology. I'd like to welcome to the show our guests from Anexinet, Jennifer Dandy, Research Manager with the Listen Logic Practice, and Angie Hoagland, Consultant with the Infrastructure Solutions Group.
Hey there.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
So, Women in Technology. Let's start with Jen. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us exactly what is actually Listen Logic?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I'm the research manager at Listen Logic. The Listen Logic practice at Anexinet is now not so recent of an addition. It's been a little over a year since we were acquired. Specialize in unstructured data analytics, which in this current day, we have, three major core competencies. The first is social media research, which is where I live most of the time. We use basically what it sounds like. We use social media data and post content to conduct essentially, market research studies for different markets. Primarily, I focus in pharmaceuticals, but we have experience in a wide range of other industries, including consumer packaged goods, insurance, etc. We also do risk sensing, which is minute by minute, hour by hour monitoring of social media for different companies. And then we have the omni-channel integrated data analytics offering, where we use our platform to integrate multiple sets of data, including social media, but also things like email, call center, notes, or just the dialogue, and sales data and other stuff like that.
Cool. That's nice. Angie, tell us a little about yourself, too.
Okay, well, my name is Angie Hoagland, and I am the end user computing consultant for the Infrastructure Solutions Group here in Anexinet. I have been in technology for well over 20 years. I have actually started when I was 8 years old, actually, technically, because of, my father was a network engineer, and my brother's also a computer engineer, and I'm a computer scientist, so it's in my blood. Kind of couldn't avoid being in technology. So that's a little bit about myself.
Well, what led you guys to a career in tech? Did you always want to be tech? I started out as a business major, then communications major, and then led me to finally being an MIS major, which is this. So
A winding path.
So have you always wanted to be in tech? Or
So I was that rebellious daughter that my dad was always like, you're going to be computer science. I'm like, no, I'm not. So I went, I was child psychology. I was an accountant. I was economics. I was going to own a pizzeria.
Awesome.
When I was 19 with my boyfriend, and then finally my calling was computer science, and it was more of a rebellious thing, against my father, so he'll love that. We joke about it now after, but and it just comes natural to me. I did go into programming. That did not come natural for myself, so I went into more support-based, and I love it.
About you?
I'm still on a winding path, really.
Okay.
I started, I thought I was going to be an academic. I started in college doing research in psychology, and I found it to be very far removed from real-world applications, which is what excites me. Did, 2 years teaching in New York, and then kind of just ended up in what started as a research job and has sort of morphed into being really integrated with tech, and it's still... when people ask me what field I work in, it's not a quick answer that I can give them.
As you find yourself in technology, since you're a manager now, do you feel like you're having to make decisions? Do you want to move up? Do you want to start a family? Do you want to start to settle down? I mean, how do you see yourself moving up, or do you want to stay within the technology field and you're comfortable with, just, unfortunately, in our field, we have to make those life decisions at a point in our career. Do you want to have a family, or do you want to continue to climb up that corporate ladder?
Yeah, I mean, I can only kind of speak personally. I'm 26, so I'm sort of at an interesting part in my life, but I'm not at a place where I'm looking at having a family in the next 5 years. So, which is kind of really cool trend, I think, personally. with millennials, that we're spending more time focusing on ourselves as career individuals. And so I'm in that phase where I'm able to focus on my career and be a little bit ambitious. I'm still at a stage where I'm figuring out where my play is and where I grow the most and where I, keep going. I don't have a long-term plan. I have like a, 1 year, 2 year plan, 1 month plan sometimes. And I just kind of take it as it comes.
How about you?
So when I was your age, I had the same goals. I was going to be a CIO in the future, and then I had a child. And it's amazing what a child, and I'm not saying this because I was forced, because I'm a woman, and they, people were putting in my ear, you are not, you're a mother, you can't be a CIO. It was never like that, because I know it. I could. But I chose that, I can be successful, but don't have to be at a CIO level. Here, I like to be an enterprise architect, and that's the highest I would like to go. My importance is my daughter. I want to be super mom and super career woman.
Yes.
That's what, and I hope so far so good, I think anyway. Still have a job, so I think that's good. But, I want to be very involved with my daughter, but still have the balance. So be very good at my job, but to be up that management level, I feel like I don't want a nanny raising my daughter. I don't want my mother raising my daughter, My mother helps me, but
Sure.
it's me. So that's and I don't frown upon anyone else. That's just my opinion for myself. That makes me happy.
That's how I am. I don't have children. But I like to work, but I also like to have my freedom. So I don't want to, hate to say it, be too high up the corporate ladder to the point where I'm 24/7. I would like to turn it off. So I still want to be able to turn it off and have fun.
Yeah.
So
Work-life balance.
Yes, the
really
work-life
important.
balance is
And that's
important.
so important. Some people, they love, I said, I like to work, like you said, but not to, people coming to me and taking out fires left and right and left. Want to turn it off and enjoy my, my family and vacations and.
So our environment is mostly men. Predominantly is men. So how do you ever feel like you have to turn into one of the boys? In the
I was
office?
always one of the boys.
Yeah.
I played football with the boys in my little skirts and my flowery tops as a kid. I did. My mom tried. But yeah, I just always engaged better with men than with girls. Or with, at the time, kids. But
Yeah, there's a point where you don't take offense to it. Like that's how I felt. I can dish it out. If you can dish it out, then you should be able to take it. So
And if you can't, you're in the wrong field.
exactly.
That's what I always
Unfortunately,
say.
that's the tech field is. Yeah, you're gonna have to. In my field, I had to rack and stack just like everyone else. I'm lifting 40-pound servers, and the guys right next to me are just watching me as they lift their own 40-pound servers. Yeah.
And I feel like they gave more respect for doing that. I never liked the damsel in distress. Oh, I'll break a nail. Can you do this for me?
Yes.
No, I'm more like,
Uh-huh.
I can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. Then, if it's way too heavy and I can't, like, can you help me? But, I would try. And I think we gain more respect.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, I really actually feel aware of my gender in this environment. I think, like you, I've always had a lot of male friends, and it's not really something that feels unnatural or something I'm super self-aware of. But I think that's an interesting example of, like, lifting things. It's
Yes.
something that I always make a point of. I can actually lift this, and there's a point where I can't responsibly without hurting myself. And like any individual of any gender, I will go and ask for help. But maybe that is one example where I feel aware of it, that I have to prove, because the expectation is that someone will step in for me because I'm a small female. It's like, no, I got this.
I was reading an article in TechCrunch, and it said that 5% of the leadership positions in the technology industry are led by women. And they said that 1.4 million jobs in 2020 will be in computer science, and only 3% will be filled by women. So how can we get women to stay in technology?
That's a good question.
Are they starting in the first place?
I mean, back in the day, I said this before, there was Revenge of the Nerds, Weird Science, and then we went to the Silicon Valley, and there was the black hoodie with the the guy with the Red Bull drinking the with the greasy hair. So if a woman sees that, like if you're in class and you see that, why would you want to go into that industry? How can we change that for women to say, you know what I mean? You go to a class in college and sit there and not be the only one in there anymore that's a woman.
I think it's comfort level, and that's the thing, intimidation. Maybe, some women feel intimidated by it. I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I could you stick me anywhere and I'll make myself comfortable and fit in. Maybe that's what it is. So that's kind of hard to, you have to tell women, you have to show confidence and show that you can handle this type of job. Maybe that's more comes down to, I'm assuming.
Well, I think a lot of times the perception is it's boring. I think a lot of women are going to sit there and say, oh, it's boring. You know what I mean? Or they have this perception of they're not going to be able to do well as a man, which I don't understand.
It's the confidence again.
So those two things are going to always think to women, or they can't be pretty. It's not the pretty job. Because yes, we're going to be on our hands and knees and getting dirty. You know what I mean? But that's part of the job anywhere.
Yeah, so that's who they are.
But how can we change that?
Well, there's different types of careers. It's not just racking and stacking and crawling underneath and pulling up floorboards and running wires. Yeah.
Or the person that's coding all day, sitting at their desk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How can we get that perception of that person is going to be drinking Mountain Dew and eating Cheetos? Fire hot Cheetos, of course.
I think it starts at two levels, right? It starts at how do we change the perception to get people into the field, and then how do we keep them there? Because I think it's two different things, right? I think keeping women in the field has a lot to do with what we were kind of talking before this about mentorship and the generation above you reach.
Yes. You need a mentor. You need some, and it's the culture in the company. If you look around the company and that company doesn't have women in leadership, will there ever be? You know what I mean? If they can't set the example. Who's going to set that example and put at least one person in there and let them know that, we appreciate what a woman's opinion is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, to go back to getting women into it and then changing the perception of the greasy-haired man and drinking a Red Bull and a black T-shirt.
Hey, something on the greasy girl. There are my Cheetos, working on things,
I used to walk around the office with a bun in my hair. You know what I mean? With a big old bun because I was running around, sweating to death.
Yeah. Glad I'm not on video now. I got my hair up in my ponytail and it's all. It was raining today. Didn't feel like doing it. So
there's something kind of freeing about that, honestly. And it's not true in a lot of other fields where, I worked in education before this, and the way that you show up to work tells a lot about how you see yourself, and it creates a bit of a culture in how you're received, where I feel like the expectation is it's professional, but it's not that expectation that you're cutting edge fashion, and there was almost sort of, there can be, it's a little intimidating the way that the dress expectations are in other fields, where this is a little bit more, honestly can be a little bit more welcoming, because it's just, slacks and a nice
Do you feel like you've had any kind of obstacles or hurdles in the industry, or even in your jobs now, or in the past, that made you feel like because you're a woman, you had to try harder, of course. You have to work. We're always going to have to work harder. I don't care what anybody says who's listening. We're always going to have to work harder. We're going to work twice as hard.
Yeah. It's a good question. I'm trying to think back in my previous positions, or even, now.
Yeah.
I always go in very confident, and I kind of maybe overdo it, so I feel like I need to empower. So, I'm tall to begin with, so I like to wear my big heels to even... try to show intimidation, kind of. Yes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to do, but I feel like if I do that, and then come in as a confident person, but I'm not, if I ran into anything where I was disrespectful with dealing with other customers because I'm a woman, I personally, that I can recall, never experienced anything like that. If it was anything, it was because of, nothing to do with being a woman. So that's my intake. I haven't personally. I don't know how about you?
Yeah, I struggle to think of an example, especially here, where I haven't felt like I've been heard and taken seriously, period. And then, never mind having to do with my gender. I think, if I'm being really honest with myself, thinking about my growth and development, there may be parts of my personality, my work behavior that has arose as a result or reaction to gender norms. Like I've read that this is can be a little bit more of a female tendency to be overprepared and know your stuff very well and speak very realistically about your abilities, whereas men, and speaking in broad generalizations, may tend to be more confident when they haven't yet fully done all of the work, right? And so I'm definitely someone who does my homework first before I speak. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that, has contributed as a result of my gender, or maybe that's just my personality.
Yeah. If someone asked you to be their mentor, I mean, I've had a mentor in other previous jobs, and I've always actually can still keep in touch with that person. If you were trying to be a mentor to someone, what can you give them and any kind of advice to them as they grow into the field and as they try and move up in the industry to help them out? Anything to...
I mean, I think just seeking out a mentor is a really good first step, because I think that relationship is important, and it looks different in every case.
Believe it or not, that mentor doesn't have to be a woman. It could actually be a man.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if it was a male, I've had one great male mentor when I went to college. Yeah. He was phenomenal. He challenged me, and he taught me a lot about the IT and not how to handle myself, but pretty much what I know today is because of him. Mm-hmm. I had two in my other previous job as well. He was a fantastic mentor, just taught me a lot and taught me how to be a mentor. And I was a mentor.
What have you learned to become a mentor? I mean, I've said that before, like 4 hours. Yeah, the relationships.
Come to me whenever. Show them, share my knowledge. Mm-hmm. I don't like to keep everything to myself because of job security. A lot of people do that. No, whatever I've learned, I like to share. I mean, I started a mentoring program in my previous job, but unfortunately, I was never able to implement it. Yeah. Because I think it's important, because when you go in, people are like lost dogs, they don't know what to do, where to start. So to be a mentor, it's very important. And I like to be that person to help out as well. There's a fear I feel with some men that if they act a certain way in front of a woman, we're going to call HR.
Yes.
Immediately. So I get that a lot especially when I meet customers. I'll go in and they'll say a curse word and they're like, oh, I am so sorry. So I just started to right there, like when I go in, I'm like, listen, I work in IT. I work with a lot of men. If I get offended by a curse word, I'm in the wrong field. I'm like, and I probably have a worse mouth than you do, so no worries. I'm not going to run HR because you said a bad word. So I do feel that way, though. One of the challenges now that it came to my mind is just how they see a woman, and it's like, and even someone has said to me, a customer, you'll be surprised at how many. And it's kind of a little something like just women, like guys don't do it.
You get that awkward silence. You'll see a group of men coming up in a group talking about something, could be even talking about tech, and you'll walk up and there's this awkward silence and you feel like you've interrupted something. And you're like, okay, what did I just interrupt here? But it's for us to understand that, they're uncomfortable because they don't want to offend us. Mm-hmm. But at what point do we say, I'm not offended?
Oh, I just say it straight out when I go there, because I got to a point where I was tired of it. So literally when I go into a meeting, I'm like, listen, talk how you normally talk. I'm one of you.
So that's the one of the boys. So that's the one of the boys factor. So you fall into that too. I do that too.
But I've always been like that, and and not because I feel like I have to be somebody else. That's just who I am. I've always been like that. And so, but they don't know that. I'm just a woman that they should never offend because of the old school thinking, which, I mean, I get it. You shouldn't offend anybody, but a girl shouldn't offend a man. Same as a man should not offend a woman. The same thing, and, cursing here and there. And, I mean, of course, there's certain things which I never came across that would offend me. But I haven't been in that type of situation where I was... Okay, maybe a couple of times, but I handled it and I moved on. I handled it. I didn't, run to, telling them. Now, if it escalated, then that's a different story. But it ended it. Certain situations ended right there, and that was it. Just a matter of respect.
Do you think other companies are changing the way they perceive women in technology? Like Yahoo, when they hired the CIO? Marissa.
Oh, I guess
But she
they are.
quit. She quit. Or did she get fired?
You heard it here first.
I mean, no, but that's one question I wanted to ask. What do you think other companies, what do you think other companies are doing to bring more women into technology? Have you heard anything?
In private, I haven't really seen it. Actually, in state government, I've seen it a lot. Where I used to work for state government, and we had a lot of deputies, CIOs that were female. We had managers that were supervisors that were female. So that one I can see. I haven't personally worked with them closely, but they moved up in the ladder from IT, in IT.
Do you honestly think that it's because they don't think that we're qualified? Or is it because they have a different perception of what that position should hold? Because I think sometimes the women are qualified, but for some reason they're not hired. Do you think that? You know what I mean? Do you ever think about that? I think they're just as qualified as the man, but for some reason that person's not hired. But if you think about it, why not hire the woman? Because then you're bringing diversity, you're bringing more culture into
diversity isn't always seen as a good thing. Because
Yeah.
it risks cohesion, in air quotes, right? It's that perception that adding a woman to this conversation is going to change. Well, we have a good thing going here. We have a good culture here. So, and
But how do we, but how do we break that boys' club? Because there's always going to be that little group, little boys' club.
Now, have you seen that where women would get denied
No,
a CIO position?
No, but I've always wondered, like,
Could be other
there's
factors.
two women, like, there's two people that are qualified for the job.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Why would they choose the man over the woman? Or I always wondered that. Like, I always thought that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, in that field, like I said, in state government, I haven't seen it
Yeah.
anyway. And in private industry, my previous company, there were layoffs. The new manager, the high up, I don't know what her exact title. She was a female.
Yeah.
So where I came from, it wasn't like that. Females were hired.
Well, I
If they
think
were qualified. So I personally haven't seen it. I've seen it where they haven't moved up by choice,
Yeah.
like for myself, family.
Well, I thought it would be culture, because, like, in the interview, do I want to go out and drink beers with this person after work?
Yeah.
That's
Can I talk comfortably like the way
Yeah.
I want to talk?
Yeah, sit in the room.
And I think it starts with just hiring at the entry level. Is the culture that they have a balance between men and women and can navigate that workplace comfortably, which I think goes back to, like, how do we get women in tech and interested in it? And I think there's been some progress in that, starting in toys that we make kind of degendered, unisex toys that are getting women more interested in just creation in general and thinking about bringing women into, because that's really at its core, right, what creation and problem solving is what technology and the STEM fields kind of are. And instead we tend to socialize women to focus on more of the social careers, which they may be great at, but they may also be great at creation. And I think if we introduce it at play at a young age and encourage that, then you make it so that the pool is really 50-50. But I think you have legacy, of course, but in your hiring pool, I don't know what the numbers are, but I would venture a guess that you're having more male resumes on your table than female resumes. So just even if you are, balancing completely fairly and hiring always the more qualified people, you're just probably going to end up with a culture that's more male heavy.
I know you went to a conference or a seminar
Yes.
on leadership, women leadership. Did you pick up anything from that? Did you learn anything from that? Did they explain anything about women in leadership or?
Yeah, that was a really cool experience, and a very different one, I think, because most of the women there were in the nonprofit sector, which is traditionally more female heavy. Okay. So it's kind of a different environment that they're working in, where they're not actually talking. They're not managing a culture that's not comfortable towards women. managing, still some of the same perceptions about how to be a good leader without being, seen as bossy or the other B words of choice. But they are also more comfortable, I think, talking about some of the strengths that women have, and even in a way that was taken out of, like, this is just a women's thing. But we talked about one of the keynotes that I really enjoyed was talking about emotional intelligence, which is something when you're talking about gender differences tends to get lumped in the female category. But I think overall it's just a nice thing for anyone to have and is really important when being in a leadership position to be aware of and to learn about.
I would like to go to one of those leaderships, or even us holding one. Maybe having a seminar or some type of mentoring program. But how do you put something like that out there? How do we, like I said, how do we bring these women in? I know I have a girlfriend of mine who's trying to start something like that. She's in IT, and she's actually starting up a woman's, I don't know what it's called, it's women in IT, but she's going to go around in different countries and states and do seminars and try to, with her experiences and so forth. She's starting this type of a business, and she wanted me to get involved with it, but I said, let's get it settled first, and then maybe you can call me after. I'm not quitting my job right now and do it. So, and then the traveling wise and so forth. But I think the main thing is women and strength. They need to be more confident. That's why I'm teaching my daughter. Even I just told Carolyn that I'm like, I don't know if I want my daughter to be in IT. She doesn't have. I was not like I was into it when I was a kid, and she's more into the sciences and into biology and stuff like that. So I'm trying to enhance it. Now, one day she goes, Mom, I really want to do what you do. That's great. I will help her with that. I just can't, because I don't see that in her.
Sure.
I see her more of a science, even this is science, but more of the biology type of science, not comp sci. So, but like I said, if she changes her mind, I'm not going to be like, no, don't go into that field.
Can you actually say that you love working in tech?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what else I would even do.
That's what I feel.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't do psychology because I don't have the skin for that. I want to do child psychology. I want to be a psychologist. Yeah, no. I just couldn't. I don't have the stomach for it.
Technology's fast-paced.
Yes, and I have ADHD. So for someone, I'll be honest, I have it. I'm proud of it. I think it actually gives me strength to do what I do. Because the way my brain works, if I did numbers all day long, accounting, that was another major of mine. No, I need a fast pace. I need change. I need to, work on different things, or I get bored very easily. That's one thing. That's why I went through so many majors, because I was bored until, especially programming, I can't do that until I started with desktop support. And I'm like, and then I got bored with that, and then I went to system admin. Then I got bored with that, so I went into Citrix, and that's the only thing that actually kept my...
I'm actually more comfortable working with male colleagues as opposed to women, unfortunately. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. It's just the camaraderie and just the way that they interact with each other. I think women need to... That's something that we need to pick up. We need to learn how to bond and to build our own network and just support each other, because I go into these situations and I see the guys always taking care of each other. They will back each other up whenever they want. And I feel like in our industry, because there's not that many of us, that we're all alone. So of course you're going to go to a guy to help you, or to be your mentor, because they're the only ones around right now. So until we figure that out and how to stick together and not like sound like, I am woman, hear me roar. It's basically,
Why not?
it's basically, trying to understand, that we can have that same camaraderie. We can go to happy hour. We can do the same things, you know what I mean, that a guy can do, and sometimes better, yes, so.
We can drink like the rest of them. I'm just kidding.
What? No.
No, actually, I can't.
I know.
Not anymore. I'm too old for that.
I mean, it does sound like there's this whole conversation is leading us in a pretty obvious direction of like we should do something. It starts with a conversation with the women who are here. What's your experience like? What do you need? And maybe it's just getting drinks together, or maybe not drinks.
Yes.
If that's not the culture, maybe it's
Lunches. Do a lunch and get like a lunch and learn. Anyone can do this in a company anywhere. Do a lunch and learn. Find out what's going on in their departments. Find out, what as a group of women do you feel are your challenges in the office, and what can we do to fix that? Do you feel like your voice isn't heard? Do you want us to, not go to HR, but how can we get your opinions heard if it's not? Or do you need to? Do you have a question why you're not advancing? It's not because of you. What do we need to do? Are you giving all the training to the guys because they're free? Because, hate to say it, because we have to go home at a certain time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And even just building those relationships, giving a venue to, like, we've never met before today.
No, I know.
And part of that's the nature of the work. We're like on site a lot, but
Yeah, and I work from home a lot as well, because when I have engagements, it's just easier. I love coming to the office, but it's very hard for me to concentrate. So something that takes me 10 minutes at home might take me 2 hours here. And nothing, but I'm sure everyone can relate to that. So normally when I have engagements or customers, I work from home, or I go on site with a customer. So I know I'm a lot of faces. I'm like, oh, they new? And they're like, oh, we're here for a year. I'm like, oh. Also, I'm on one side and you're on the other, and then people change. I know there's some people downstairs. I know, so it's
right. Yeah.
I think we briefly met as well.
Yes.
So I know we do have to band together and have our. You're right, lunch and learns.
Yeah.
I know after work is kind of difficult, especially for myself. I live an hour and a half away. That's another reason why I don't come in that often. Yeah, it's a far commute. So the happy hours are very difficult for me because I have a child.
No, absolutely.
And Annex is great about that. They're very understanding. It's because it's just me, myself, and I. So it's difficult, but I try.
As a career option, though, for technology, can you suggest anything to the audience about what they need to know besides going to school, taking the classes, getting the certifications?
Experience. So you mean as
to be successful in technology and to build their own career, that is an option. What do you think? Do you have any kind of suggestions that you can
be driven? It's about drive, and again, I go back to confidence, and besides the whole education and certifications, and don't be intimidated.
Be curious. Try new things.
Definitely. Don't be scared. Just if you believe in something, go for it. That's what my take on. That's what I do.
Find the parts of it you enjoy.
Do you think?
And that's another thing too. There's so many, and that's another thing with IT. There's so many. I mean, what you do is totally different than what I do. There's programming, and there's
coders.
support.
Yeah.
There's architecture. There's so many different things, different operating systems, and you can be supporting as well. So many different things. So I guess just to get your niche. My niche is troubleshooting is my thing, and that's what I'm very good at. I have an analytical mind, outside the box. My strength. So find your strengths.
I think your personality too is what brought you into technology.
What?
Yes.
I have no personality.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
I think our
And relationships.
our jobs, we can't sit and be quiet.
Oh no.
No, at least in
I
my
don't know
situation.
what that is like.
Yeah.
I'm Puerto
Yeah.
Rican. We don't know how to be quiet. We got big mouths. Should I said that? You can edit that out if you want. No, and that's why I say maybe that's another thing. I know what I'm talking about with technology, but also we have personalities. That's important. And to have conversations and talk in different levels too in IT. That's another thing. Like you have the CIOs, you gotta talk one way. You have the techs, you talk to them another way. So that's another thing, you have to learn how to handle your audience.
I just noticed something. Jen works in a department that's predominantly women.
I do.
And Angie works in a department that's predominantly men. So right now, what's it like working in your department And I can tell you a little, so because I've sat in both sides, so I can actually how come your department is mostly women? I just realized that. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did that come along? I mean,
Good luck.
hire. Yeah.
Was one of them. No. I mean, the work that we do, it really lends itself to more of the social sciences. So the pool that we've drawn from have been, history, literature, linguistics, psychology, social sciences, and they tend to be women. And so
Never knew that. That's like I was curious. I wasn't sure what majors the women on the other side they were. So
Yeah, because mine was, even in school, it's like, my computer science classes, it was like 2-3 females, and the rest were all men. And then I worked at my college, and I was the only tech that was female. I mean, we had females, but there were the secretaries, there were, doing the paperwork, and I was the only one out in the field fixing things. So, like I said, but I've been used to that. That's all I know, honestly, even my other job, it was 3 females and the rest were all males.
did you ever have anything funny happen to you? It doesn't even have to be here, because anywhere, because you're a woman, or just said funny at work.
maybe needs to be edited out, but I'll I
You
deal.
made the decision.
Yeah, we work with social media a lot. We deal with a lot of spam bots. So one spam bot that has come up a lot lately follows a pattern of random strings of words on Twitter and a profile picture that is a scantily clad woman. And they're all different varieties, but it has been very strange to interact with this spam, understanding that they're very obviously using the female form to get attention and try to get you to click on things. And luckily, I do work on a team that's all women, so it's felt pretty safe to explain what it is you're trying to get out.
So, ladies, are there any experiences you want to share that may have happened to you when you're working as, even as a woman in technology that could have translated as offensive, but to them that didn't seem to bother them? Like, you know how guys pat each other on the back, like at a baseball game, they're slapping each other on the butt. They don't even think twice about it. And I'm watching a baseball game going, what the heck what did he just do to him? You know what I mean? But, in situations, I don't think, because guys forget, you'll get the stroke on the back. You know what I mean? Where, the guys do the pat on the back, but you'll get the stroke on the back.
So I've experienced some but it's blatantly obvious that it was kind of inappropriate. But, I handled it the best I could. Some advances, some, men have made to me in the past, knowing that either I was married or they were even married, even after.
Going to conferences, I think women need to remember to protect themselves.
Yes.
Because you are at a conference and there's the alcohol and there's, I hate to say it, the drugs. You're going to walk away from your drink and somebody, unfortunately, might put something in your drink because you're a woman and you're sitting at a table with people that are from a conference that you don't even know. So,
yes, I was always careful. I never drank excessively in any of these. I've seen others, and I think maybe some of the women felt like they needed to fit in. There's points of fitting in, but that wasn't for me. Me getting drunk and irresponsible just to prove something, I won't do. I just feel like that's not respecting myself.
But that's part of the 4 R's. Protecting your
Should we
reputation.
go over the 4 R's? I don't think we said
Oh,
all of
yeah,
them.
I don't think we went over them.
The 4 R's would be your relationships, which is building your network.
Yes.
The second R would be your reputation. So you are your own brand. So you can either build it up or you can take it down. So you're marketing yourself. You're selling yourself. So you always have to protect your brand. Be results driven. And then finally is being resilient. So those 2 speak for itself. But it's the first 2 I've always remembered because it's not it's not what you know, it's who you know. Oh, yeah. So if you're building great relationships with people and they have a good idea of who you are and they like you, they're always going to remember you and they'll always put a good word in for you. You know what I mean?
I have myself, for instance, I was unfortunately laid off from my previous job. Well, my relationships with my coworkers at, my previous employment reached out to someone here who gave me the job. So if it wasn't for him, because I'll be honest, I never heard of Anexinet before, just because it's in Blue Bell, PA. I'm from New Jersey, you know. So, but if it wasn't for them, I probably would have been struggling finding another job, not knowing. Because you're right, it's hard to find a job when you don't know anyone. Even my previous job, I knew somebody who got me in because of the relationships, and they know, okay, wow, this person's vouching. They're putting their reputation on the line.
That's where you have to be careful, because then if you ruin that reputation or you ruin that relationship with someone, they're going to be like, well, that situation happened. I don't want to associate with that person anymore, unfortunately. So that's why regardless of who you are, you want to protect yourself, build yourself up. Don't let anyone ever think of a way to bring you down. Just protect yourself, relationships.
And the respect thing is huge, because I've seen where, you know, women, and it's sad, you know, show no respect and thought that, oh, if I go this way, that would be disrespectful for themselves. They're going to give themselves a really bad reputation. But
then you have to remember that whole, I forgot what it was, you know, being assertive as opposed to being...
Yes, that B word.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you can be assertive, and there's a way, it's all about the tone, I believe, how you put it. You know, it's your tone. If you be the B word, I mean, maybe I am and I don't know it, but it's just a matter of the tone.
Can we say that?
Confident. It's more, assertive is confident. But then you could also be, you could be condescending. That's when the other word comes into play.
And it needs to be said that some people are just going to see you that way, and it might not be that you're acting that way, and that's okay. But I think being confident without being condescending is important. I think for me, a lot of strength comes from having built relationships so that I know that people understand where I'm coming from when I give advice or I give a direction, because it's not coming from a place of being catty or trying to assert my own job security over you. It's coming from a place of, I want you to do well, I want this project to do well, and I trust that you know we're on the same page there.
Honesty with customers, at least in the IT, you know, customers in the IT world, is very, some people think that, oh, I can't, you know, I got to tell them what they want to hear because I don't want them to think, you know, badly of me.
I fall into that. I do that a lot.
You do? I don't.
I do. I'll come back. I will come. Sometimes I'll sit there and be like, I'll take care of it, and then I'll walk away going, oh.
Oh, no, not that way. Like, I had a customer who I went in and I'm like, what? Oh my goodness, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed. What is going on here? Not like I was, but to a point, I wasn't being disrespectful about it. I wasn't pointing fingers, but I was pointing things, and they pulled me inside and they're like, wow, you're the first person who came in here and was honest with us about the issues we were having. Other consultants came in and they're like, oh, that's okay. I'm like, you know why? Because they wanted your business and they wanted to make everything seem okay, or they didn't want to hurt your feelings. You know, I'm like, I'm sorry, my reputation is on the line and I want to be on it, and I want you to be successful in your implementation and so forth. So I'm always honest with the customer. If they don't like it, you know, and I'm not doing it condescending again. Right. You know, I'm not like, oh, you did a horrible job or that. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm like, listen, this isn't configured properly. This isn't done properly. You know, things have changed or whatever. I work it where it's helping them, but I'm honest.
Did you have a hard time getting the respect of men when you came in and did that?
No, they actually were like, thank you. They were thank you for being. I had several people say that about my honesty and how kind of surprised. I think they were very surprised that I wasn't a yes person. Like, oh, yes, it's okay. Oh, yes, it's fine. No, I'm not like that.
So we were talking about meetings, and something I've noticed is that men or people in positions of power tend to interrupt more than women or those without positions of power. So I'm wondering, have you guys noticed that happening? Have you ever felt that happens to you, and how do you deal with that?
I just stop and listen, and then I'll continue doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually let them finish the conversation. I guess that's what's different between us, because they'll interrupt, and we'll just let them talk first, and then make our judgment and answer. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think I feel insulted when they do that either. Maybe because I don't look at it as, because I'm a female, is interrupting me. Because they've interrupted other people too in the meeting. So I don't.
It's their short attention span.
Yes. I do it too sometimes, because if I don't say it, I'll forget. So, I mean, I don't do it to a CIO, but sometimes I'm like, oh, wait a minute, before you continue, blah, 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 I'll say it, and then they'll be like, okay, and then they'll continue. But I don't find offense to it if because I interrupt as well.
Right,
so.
sure. And assuming the best and everything.
Yeah, I try not to put, because I'm a female, they're doing it. I don't like to think that way. It has to be blatantly obvious that it's because, if they say, oh, can you get me coffee? Send me for coffee. I'll be like, which I never had happen.
Yeah.
Stuff that's...
Yeah, I would sit there and say, I'm not getting any.
Yes. There's one thing if I'm getting coffee.
Yeah, if I'm getting coffee for myself, yes.
I'm like, hey, do you want to... I'm getting coffee. Do you want some? Sure, but they go, hey, can you get us some coffee? I'm like, no, I don't... Yeah, I'll be like, no, I don't plan on getting any.
I think I think in that sense, we're lucky because I don't see that as much anymore.
I never see it.
Yeah, I don't see that as much anymore. I mean, I get to the point where I'm like, when someone doesn't ask me to help, ask to help me with something, like even open a door, I'm like, they didn't ask me to open the door. Like there's certain things there's certain things I wish didn't die with it.
Chivalry?
You know what I mean? Yeah, chivalry.
Oh, I still get that all the time,
Yeah.
but I'll do it too. I think it's just nice,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Exactly.
Except when they hold the door open for you of any gender, and you're just like a little bit too far away, so you have to like do that
Yes.
little awkward jog.
Oh, yes.
I hate that every time.
I'm like, I'm coming.
Right, and they always say, you don't have to run, but if I didn't run, this would be weird.
Yeah.
I know exactly what
But
you're
you don't want to be that person who doesn't hold it for them
Exactly.
when they're that close.
Yeah. Or slam in their face. That happened to me. I'm like, dude.
Yep.
All right, looks like we're out of time, ladies. So I just want to thank both Jennifer Dandy and Angie Hoagland for joining me today. So, Angie, do you have a LinkedIn or a Twitter handle that we can include in our show notes?
Yes, I do. I have both LinkedIn, Facebook, and
A Twitter?
Twitter account.
Okay, so make sure to include that in the pod.
Yes.
How about you, Jennifer?
I'm a terrible millennial. I don't have a Twitter account.
I don't
I'm on
like
LinkedIn.
Twitter.
You're on
but
LinkedIn?
I have it.
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Twitter. So if you want to follow me, I'll make it fun.
I'll get one
Yes,
just to follow
I'll be
you
fun
guys.
and geeky. So.
If I find something interesting, I might retweet it or send something. If I find something cool with technology or something, I may tweet it. I haven't been as good at that.
All right.
lately.
Thanks again for joining me, ladies. So if you enjoy the AnexiPod and are looking for more content, why not check out our sister podcast, Buffer Overflow? On the show, Ned is joined by Anexinet colleagues to discuss what's new and interesting in the IT newsphere. Thanks to Ned for helping me put this together, and thanks to Anexinet for helping me produce this podcast. If you're looking for a company to help you with your digital, strategy, or technology needs, then I would recommend reaching out to Anexinet to see how they can help. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, IT moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop to look around once in a while, you just might miss it.